afternoon and welcome to Midday Live on TV3. I am Wendy Lai. The headlines this afternoon. Investigative journalist Anas Arimayao Anas surprised at the impact of his latest investigative expose, number 12, has received. Former President John Kufuor backs calls for voter ID card to be added to the requirements for registration for the Ghana card. Finance Ministry gives clearance for employment of 2,700 national service persons as Agric Extension officers after their service. And on the foreign front, Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa suspects a group linked to the former First Lady was behind an attempt on his life.
Here we go.
All right, so thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Midday Live. But before we start, let's go straight to some updates for the World Cup. And Officer Lavi is here. I'm sure we shouldn't be smiling.
Well, yesterday Nigeria lost, and
what happened?
I think it was too bad for them. Too bad for them. I think that they were in the game for most parts of it, but they just lost it towards the end, and that's just how it has been for the African countries in the tournament.
Do you smell a rat?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You don't?
I certainly don't. I think that they were beaten fair and square. But Senegal has an opportunity to lift the flag of Africa again. And if Senegal fails to qualify to the next stage, it will be the first time since 1982 that no African team will be in the second stage of the World Cup. And that will be very bad for us. But later on today, the world champions Germany will be playing their final group game against South Korea. And if they lose, they're out of the tournament, so they'll be expected to win. And also, if Sweden are able to beat Mexico, then Germany will still have to find the tall order in qualification to the next stage. So it's all to play for, really, for Germany. But Brazil also are in that situation. They are playing Serbia later today. Serbia have proved tough opponents for any team in the World Cup so far. So Brazil, Serbia, and then South Korea, Germany. Those are two games that will be coming up. Still very, very tough.
All right, then, yeah. We'll bring you some more sports updates in the bulletin. But let's start with our stories now, and we have an exclusive for you. Investigative journalist Anas Arimayao Anas has, in an exclusive interview, revealed he is surprised at the impact of his latest investigative expose, number 12, has received. Speaking to TV3's Michael Oteje, Anas claims former GFA boss went on about how to dupe the GFA without any incitement. Now, here are excerpts of the exclusive interview.
Did you imagine the impact would be like this?
I did imagine that there will be an impact. But the question was, who cares? I thought nobody was going to care. I thought that if something affected football, what is the president's business with football? What does the news people need in football? I thought it was going to be one of those quiet stories that, like I said, I chose it from a collection of stories and said, look, let's put something in there and see how. Let's test the waters. Let's do something preliminary to make way for a bigger one to come. Only to realize that this thing was hiding as a big one and never showed its true colors to me. And I think that no one should ever underestimate. Now, when I see people watching football with passion, when people talk entrapment and all that, look, this is a sting operation. It's done by the BBC, done by Al Jazeera, done by New York Times, done by everybody in the world. What is different? When I was doing Osu Children's Home, that was not entrapment. When I was doing the judges, so are football people more human than judges? No. We are developing a society. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. It's same investigative piece that we've churned out over the years. And so those who have their issues with talking about entrapment. But let me specifically go look at Kwesi Nyantakyi. And when I look at him, I feel entrapped by him. And not me entrapping him. Why? A football guru, I pick you from the airport. I put you in a hotel. The first thing you begin to tell me, even before we meet the supposed businessman, is how to scam the businessman and scam the GFA. That's exactly what happened. So if you watch the video, you realize that he started coaching me how you can form a company. He said all that. Nobody forced it.
Remember, the full version of that interview will air soon on TV3. To other stories now, and a video of a heavily drunk police officer with a rifle in a commercial vehicle that's Churchill has popped up on social media. The police officer, whose name is not known, boarded a vehicle from Ridge Roundabouts to Medina. Now, joining me in the studio to discuss further on the video you just saw is Adam Bona. He is a security expert. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
First of all, what do you make of this video, knowing that it's a no-no?
Good afternoon to your cherished viewers. It's a no-no under the police service regulations. I mean, drinking alcohol is whilst on duty is something that the service policy frowns on. And so this police officer, I believe, would have to be interrogated, and then if found culpable, should be severely dealt with. One of usually the punishment could be reduction in rank, and sometimes if it is, we are seeing these are visuals, but you need to test to see whether what's the level. Is it alcohol? Could it be cocaine? It could be anything. And so depending on what he's taking in him, he could even, sometimes he could be dismissed. And so as far as I'm concerned, the police office, police institution frowns, on this type of behavior. It's not supposed to be done.
Now, that bit deals with, he's sitting in a public transport. You're one person who's pushed and always advocated for the working tools, infrastructure, logistics for the police service. He has a gun with him in a Churchill. Is this any fault of his?
It is not, but from where your narrative, he picked the vehicle from, is it Rich Hospital? From Rich Hospital to Medina. He's clearly crossing from one jurisdiction to the other under the police, service policy. You are talking about Rich comes under a different administration. Medina itself is a division. And so which division does he belong to? You see, he was armed with an AK-47 assault rifle. Crossing from different, he would have gone through, maybe Nima police station, that's another division. So he would go through several divisions. And so this is something we need to establish. What happened? And so it's not supposed to be, unless he is being asked to go and perform some duties there, which has to be sanctioned. But again, sitting in a commercial vehicle with, an assault rifle is something that is a no-no. Even in a civilian, a private vehicle is a no-no. Yes, they are allowed to, those who
But this is very normal. People see this all the time.
It's not supposed to be. It's not, it's a no-no. It's not supposed to be. You are talking about, what one AK-47 assault rifle, when you have one AK-47 bullet fired, how many people it can kill? And you are sitting in, a vehicle that most of these people are not people who have been trained in, arms and ammunition. So if anything happens and there's a discharge, are they going to deck or they are going to jump? If there's an accident and this, assault rifle, locks on, it's going to spray everybody. And so we have accepted it to be the norm, but there again, it shouldn't be. It's not supposed to be the practice. But we cannot be in a hurry to blame the police, because then if the state has not provided them with the necessary logistics, then they aren't going to be able to work, because then they're supposed to be vans and vehicles, marked vehicles or marked police vehicles that's supposed to pick them from one jurisdiction to the other. But unfortunately...
Now this matter about logistics will never go away.
Yeah.
And you're one person who's come up strong on this issue. Now, we've seen this video pop up on social media. As citizenry, probably this could come from a citizen journalist. Can this in any way, with the noise being made about it, bring about any change?
Well, I believe that there has been change. Some change has taken, it's ongoing. The only thing is that it is too little, and so one would have expected the change to happen very rapidly. I know a lot of equipment are being procured, but there again, we need to ask the Minister of Finance to release funding to the Ghana Police Service so they are able to procure vehicles and other things to transport personnel from one location to the other. Until that is done, we are always going to come back to this.
Now we talk about corporate social responsibility, and we see some of these officers with their machines in banks. We see them with guns in these banking halls. And don't you think that it's high time corporate Ghana supports? Yes, there's some bit of support. We hear that they've done this, they've done that, they're doing this. But can they also do more?
They can do more. You see, it's one thing I've spoken about for decades. It is only in this country, and maybe some African countries, you find police officers armed protecting the bank's money. Technology says you don't have to do that. You have pickups turned into bullion vans. If you go to Europe and Britain and other places, bullion vans are supposed to have shredders. So you count the money, they are serialized, and so when you are counting, so when there is an attack, the shredder in the bullion vans destroys the money. And so you only pay to the Bank of England, Bank of America, and they print you more currency. That wouldn't lead to inflation. But unfortunately, if there are 40,000 police officers in Ghana, at every 24 hours, you have 1,000 of them protecting the banks. And the funny thing is that even when the money they pay to the police, the money is paid, it goes to chest. It doesn't go to the police. And so I would say that why should we should rather tax the banks, tax them more, and make sure that within every geographical area, the citizens, including the banks, are protected. Like you go to maybe central London and you would have maybe 4 or 5 police vehicles on the beat circling round. We don't have it here, unfortunately.
Thank you so much for your time. Adam Mona is a security expert, and we're looking at a viral video on a policeman in a public transport. This is still Midday Live. We now hand over the microphone to you to air your views on the Privileges Committee on Lawmaker Kennedy Ejapong.
Kennedy Ejapong, as Sin Central MP, is to face the Privileges Committee of Parliament over alleged contemptuous comments he made against Parliament and the Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu. Today on What Do You Think? I want to find out from you what you think are the appropriate sanctions to apply in this case.
Okay, I think that the Parliament as a house have their rules and regulations, and if the person is not able to abide to it and does his things now, they should see to it and give him the accurate punishment. They shouldn't look at his position or the money and things that he's having. Because if it's ordinary Ghanaian who did that thing, I'm very sure he will give him a very a deservable punishment.
You know, he's been talking too much, seriously. He's been talking too much, so just a week in jail or a fine will be fine with me.
Well, since he's a member of parliament, I think maybe he should be stripped of that position, because he doesn't have any regard for his colleagues and the entire, house. So I think that's what. But we've been seeing him, hearing him make comments such as this. He gets away with it all the time. So frankly, I'm expecting it not to, it's just going to pass by without any repercussions for him.
They have their standing order, of which they will use the standing order to put whatever sanction that he will disturb.
He insulted them, so they know the gravity of what he has done, and I'm sure they are the best people to punish him.
Well, I think he's equally cheap and useless. If Parliament, he's a member of Parliament, and if he says they are cheap and useless, then he's insulted himself.
I think he doesn't have the right to say that, and whether he meant it or not, I think he's wrong, and then something has done about it.
A speaker ought to, subject him to a bond, so that we will not even go and then speak anyhow somewhere, tarnishing image of the house or the members of the house.
Now to one of our headline stories on the Ghana card, and the Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, says the party backs the decision by the minority in Parliament not to register on the ongoing national ID card. He has called on government to be fair in the way it is handling the exercise and not to do politics with it.
If members of Parliament contributed to a debate and made certain statements, and upon hindsight they have realized that, look, this is not good, and so we need to go back and look at the law again and do the necessary amendment, I do not think by any stretch of imagination such people should be called hypocrites and unpatriotic citizens. Indeed, we all know in this country that it is very easy to acquire birth certificate than to acquire a voter's register. In fact, information that we are getting is that the birth and death registry, the director has been removed from office, and several changes are taking place in various regional offices of the birth and death registry. We are also hearing of several moves by the MPP getting their people to be registered and given birth certificates and others across the length and breadth of the country. We believe that the president ought to be sincere, because if they want to use this for political purpose, because all of us know that the voters register after 10 years will have to be replaced.
And former President John Kufuor has backed calls by the minority for the voter ID card to be added to the requirements for the registration for the Ghana card. The former president spoke after he was registered by officials of the National Identification Authority at his residence on Tuesday.
Would help identify a citizen as a citizen with the sovereign authority residing in him or her. So if your voter's ID is not incorporated in this, then when it comes to citizens going to make a government, where would you be? How would you say, truly, you also have the Kokoromoti power to make a government? So voter's ID should be part.
And let's head to Parliament, where my colleague Evelyn Tingma has been following the story in relation to Kennedy Ejapong and the Privileges Committee, and she joins me via phone. But actually, before she even tells us more on that issue, let's go to the National Identification Authority and matters arising. And Evelyn has some updates on that. Hello, Evelyn.
Hello, Wendy.
Now, what's the latest on that matter in Parliament?
Wendy, this morning we have been speaking to some minority MPs on the Ghana card issue, and you know that President Kufuor has added his voice that the voters' ID card should be included in the process. And we've been speaking to some of the minority members, and they are really happy about President Kufuor's comments, and they have gone ahead to say that, indeed, as MPs who represent the people, they might have those documents that the NIA is requesting, but for constituents who are in their villages and all that, they wouldn't have such documents. And so we are still buttressing the point that people should be given the right to use the voter's ID card. And so they have backed the cause of President Kufuor, and then we tried also talking to some of the majority members, but it's been very difficult because most of them are not willing to speak to us. But we will try as much as possible to bring our listeners up to speed on this development, and we'll talk to some of the majority members to make sure that we get some of these answers. Wendy.
Thank you very much indeed, Evelyn, for that update. You're still watching Midday Live with me, Wendy Lai. And it's now time for MTN video reports. And Idrisu Situ reports on the bad state of a school in Krachi West District of the Volta region.
This is the frontal view of the RCJHS in Pai Katanga, which have been ripped off by a torrential rainfall and have since not received any attention from the authorities barely 4 months ago. This situation compelled students to learn under the scorching sun, and when the weather condition changes, the students are forced to close and go home, affecting their academic work at large. Reporting from Pai Katanga in the Volta region, Idris Usitu.
You can also send your video via WhatsApp platform 055-143-044. That's 055-143-044. This is Midday Live and your business mix. Do stay. Thanks for staying. Let's do business now. And the Global Findex 2017 survey on financial inclusion in Ghana has revealed an 8% gender gap between men and women in financial inclusion growth. Head of Inclusive Markets at the consultative group, Stephen Rasmussen, is actually advocating for education and technology as sound tools to promote greater inclusion of women.
The Global Findex survey showed the growth of financial inclusion between 2011 and 2017 worldwide. It revealed that in 6 years, the share of adults with access to formal financial services account in Ghana has grown from 29% in 2011 to 58% in 2017. However, there was a noticeable gap of 8% between men and women. Mr. Rasmussen explained that though the results were not peculiar to Ghana as other countries face a similar gap, education and technology are a tool to explore to ensure greater inclusion of women.
It's not that Ghana has done very poorly on this or that the gap has necessarily increased by very much. Education counts. When we see educated women, they tend to be as financially included as educated men.
He stressed that leveraging advances in digital technology are key to increasing financial inclusion across board.
Very few countries that have doubled their level of financial inclusion. And I think the biggest reason, and it came out in the data, has been a lot of the work done with mobile financial services. The percentage who have a bank account, a formal bank account, hasn't changed by very much. It's increased, but not by a lot. But the big increase has come with mobile financial services and mobile money.
And the Chief Executive Officer of Van Lim Enterprise Limited and winner of the Presidential Award on Entrepreneurship, Vanessa Aisha Liman, wants to create more jobs for the youth with her enterprise. Speaking on TV3's morning program, New Day, Aisha Liman said she has targeted to be recognized on the international market.
Home and my mom sent me the presidential pitch through WhatsApp. It was a link. So she told me to just apply. I should try my luck. But my main focus was on my business. I didn't do it just because I wanted money, because I already started producing. So I just tried. Unfortunately, I had no idea about writing proposals. I didn't know anything about proposals. So I researched on the internet how to write a proposal, how to project cash flow. And yeah. So I wrote my proposal down, I jotted it down, and I printed it out. And with the help of a man, the man helped me to add. I added more flesh. He added more flesh to it. Yes, I should say that. Yes. So that was how I presented it. And actually, I had difficulties in submitting it because anytime I submit, they're always saying I should try, because the system was jammed.
Okay, you are doing this through the online portals.
Yes, online.
Okay.
Yes. So I kept on trying, but I just
it wouldn't go
after
through.
I submitted it, I just lost hope because I was like, if it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, I'm focusing on my business because that's what I want to do. So I was there 4 days ago and I received a phone call. I was in the Upper West and I received a phone call that I've been submitted, I've been called and I'm part of the first 20. I was shocked. It was unbelievable because I didn't expect this. I didn't expect them calling me because I had problems with submitting it. So I intend on expanding in a large scale. I want to go international and I want to be in competition with international breakfast cereals, not only in Ghana. I want to go international and I want to set up, I've already started, but I intend on expanding my business in the Sisala West district, specifically to create employment.
Big congratulations to Vanessa. To other stories, Ghana loses about 36 million cedis a year in the mining sector through transfer pricing. Now, until government tightens the transfer pricing regulation 2012, the Integrated Social Development Center, ISODEC, says high leakages of revenue due to illicit financial outflows will continue to heighten corruption and defeat the country. That's the Ghana Beyond Age agenda.
Transfer pricing involves transactions between and a common ownership. Over 60 governments have adopted transfer pricing rules, which in almost all cases are based on the arm's length principle, where tax holidays and price adjustments are enjoyed. However, some multinationals take advantage by using avoidable means not to pay some of the taxes required.
If you look at issues around especially the extractive sectors, mining, petroleum, it's a very serious matter and large sums of money are involved. And if we are going to go talking about Ghana Beyond Aid, we must be able to pull back some of these monies to finance our own development, so we don't need to go to anybody for aid.
At a workshop in Accra, the Integrated Social Development Center, ISODEC, together with other civil society organizations and the media, discussed issues on illicit financial flows and gathered some practical steps to monitor trade mispricing. Policy analyst at ISODEC, Bernard Anaba, said until reforms are put in place with stiffer sanctions against abuse of transfer pricing, the fight against inappropriate transfer pricing would not yield any positive results.
The regulation cannot be implemented on its own, on a silos. It has to come along with other international reforms. And if it doesn't come along with this external regulations or reforms, it doesn't actually lead to any beneficial outcome for the country.
Although challenges such as limited specialist knowledge remain significant, progress has been made in Africa to develop transfer pricing regimes.
And that's all for business this afternoon. You're with Midday Live, and I'm Wendy Lai. Let's look at some more stories. And the final report of the Commission of Inquiry for the creation of new regions suggests there is substantial demand for creation of new regions in the country. Presenting its findings to the President at the Jubilee House on Tuesday, the Commission said equitable distribution of national resources will promote balanced development across the country.
The 9-member Commission of Inquiry on the creation of new regions was tasked to ascertain the need and substantial demands and to make recommendations on all factors involved in the creation of new regions and alterations of regional boundaries. Presenting the final report to the President, the chairman of the Commission, Justice Brobe, said people across the country were hopeful the creation of new regions will improve living standards.
This must be the desire of every citizen of Ghana who chooses not to be a spectator. The Commission has expressed views on substantial demand and a need for creation of new regions, as we are required to do by the terms of reference. We have also expressed our views on the places and issues to be determined by the referendum. As the first commission to be tasked with an assignment of this magnitude, we have expressed views on issues that have arisen during our consultations for the guidance of subsequent commissions, should there be the need for similar ones to be established.
President Akufo-Addo was excited the country is charting a new path in its development agenda.
I was particularly pleasantly struck by the several occasions in the course of those proceedings when important personalities from different political persuasions saw common ground on the need to create new regions. It is clear that the process is being demand-driven and reflective of the will of the people as the Constitution so intends. This is the first time that in a constitutional era, regions are being created under constitutional provisions. The work of this commission will definitely be one of the landmarks in that journey. History will definitely applaud, I have no doubt, the manner in which this commission has discharged this historic duty.
The process will now go through a referendum. The possible new regions will be Uti in the Volta region, Afo and Bono East in the Bono-Afo region, Western North in the Western region, and Northeast and Savannah in the Northern region.
In a related development, MP for Nsawam Adwejiri, Frank Arnaud Dompre, is optimistic the creation of the new regions will help propel development across the country. Meanwhile, Deputy Communications Director of the National Democratic Congress, Fred Agbenyo, says though the move is laudable, resources should rather be channeled into improving infrastructure. They both spoke on TV3's morning program, New Day.
This is the first time of our constitutional era that we're creating these regions. So, more or less, it's a novelty. It is historic. We all need to be proud about it. But we also need to go beyond just the mere creation, which I think that if you look at the speech of the president as he was receiving the report, he captured it, and then the leader of the commission, that is not just about the mere creation. We're also looking at bringing governance to the doorstep for our people, and then active participation in grassroots governance. But back to your question as to whether there is something more government can do. I think yes, we can. There's more we can do in terms of getting budget in real terms, release to our people, and also consistently taking our people along what is happening under central government. And then we should also reduce the over-centralization of government activities in Accra.
Because if you create a region, how does that bring development to the people? The argument has always been that, well, the distance from a regional capital to the district, in some cases,
the Bono-Afo region, for instance, is huge, and so we are getting two out of that.
You see,
I think that won't that make work easier? That's the argument.
Well,
so let's cut it into
maybe
smaller pieces.
We have two options: bring development, and everything the distance become very short. If the road network or road infrastructure is good, if the railway system is working, if telecommunication is working effectively, distance doesn't matter at all. Because if you travel to the United States, states are far apart, and yet they are able to work, to the center. And so our problem is our road infrastructure, it's our railway system, it's our telecommunication system. If the system is working, you can sit by your internet in your office, by your computer, and transact business without necessarily having to move out of your office. If the road infrastructure is good, you can travel from Tamale to wherever, or from any of the district to Tamale without any difficulty. Now, are we substituting the creation of these regions for the development of the areas? What really is the agenda?
Fast-rising poet Ko Kumi has appealed to Guineans to patronize poetry, stressing the arts form lacks appreciation in Ghana. The self-motivated spoken word performer is worried sex tapes and pornographic materials enjoy massive patronage than poetic content in Ghana. He spoke to Ozurai.
Tell them that your vision is real and not just magic, and your beauty is what they underrate, and that is tragic. Your color is what they can't create.
Ko Kumi's amazing works have earned him many admirers. The creative poet has, through his poems, added his voice to social issues, including bleaching.
They tell you You ain't pretty until your skin is light. Light skin dominates our television, so you think you can't be on television. Tell your vision that there is a beam of light shining through the darkest.
Kokumi's other outstanding works include Dear Future Wife. The fast-rising poet boasts of compositions like The Untitled Ones, Slow Down, and his latest work titled The Greatest Poem Ever.
Which one is your most favorite? I wouldn't choose one. I would say all of my works are amazing.
Dear future wife, I once loved you more than my mother.
How do you see poetry here in Ghana, doing poetry? Doing poetry in Ghana is very, very difficult. Organizer will call you and say, I have a show, I want to put you on, blah, 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 this is the day, this is the time. But the thing is, we can't pay you. We will give you exposure. I think if we're able to explore and evolve more, everything will work out. The exposure, they will pay us with it, but with time we will evolve and we will make the best out of it.
Is there anything that discourages you from writing and composing amazing poems?
When you realize that you've done a good job, but it doesn't get the attention that it needs in the society or the people that you made for. You see few people sharing, few people paying attention to it. It gets you down. And when you see a sex tape being shared more than a poem. So I told them I've released the tape. You guys don't want to share, but if someone releases a sex tape, you share and ask for links and things. Why don't you do the same thing to poems or to positive works by people? So this thing, sometimes they want to discourage me, but I realize that if I don't do it or if we don't do it, who is going to do it for us?
The poets themselves. Is there anything you think they have to do for the larger society to take the art form very serious?
The poets are doing just that. I've seen poets tackle issues on tramadol, which is very good. Some musicians actually promote the abuse of drugs in their songs. I think we add our voices to social commentaries and social issues. What we are doing is good. We just have to do it more.
The young and prolific spoken word artist wants the media to lead the charge to unearth amazing talent and take the spotlight off condemnable videos.
There are lots of good guys out there. They don't get the needed attention. So for them to come out, they'll come out as porn stars and do a lot of bad things just to get to fame. So if a media house decides to show Shatawale's video of getting a blowjob as something that will give them followers or something that will give them views, that will be the norm for the day. But what I think we can do to change this is, if you see something bad, just don't share it. I'd rather share something that will impact someone's life.
That was Woturai's story. That'll be all for this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching Midday Live. A quick run through our headlines for this afternoon. Investigative journalist Anas Arimayaw surprised at the impact of his latest investigative expose, number 12, has received. Former President John Kufuor backs calls for voter ID card to be added to the requirements for registration for the Ghana card. Finance Ministry gives clearance for employment of 2,700 national service persons as agric extension officers after their service. And on the foreign front, Zimbabwe president suspects a group linked to the former First Lady was behind an attempt on his life. That's all for this afternoon. I am Wendy Lai. Enjoy the rest of our programs and do have a blessed afternoon. Thanks for watching.